Hello, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films and marvel at how slow YouTube is in fixing the problem with my original site. I listed with them on Monday, I think, and they were supposed to get back to me yesterday, but they did not. So we are just biding our time. But I got so many films to share with you, so we're going to go ahead and get started. At least one of these we've seen, a couple of these maybe we've seen before, but it's been a couple of years. So this is our good friend, the Rhyming Hal Smith. You might know him as Otis the Drunk from the Andy Griffith Show. Enjoy.
Use this leader to focus the picture and adjust the sound volume. The film will then be ready for correct projection.
Johnny, we're still using it. Come on, I want to use the tape. Just wait a minute. Come on, let me have the tape now. Haven't you ever heard of good manners? Okay, then I'll go get my own tape. Boy, was I ever angry. I decided to go to Mr. Mack's shop and see if he had some tape. I didn't know it then, but that's how I learned the good manners game.
Now I wonder if my talking machine will work. I'll just give this switch a little jerk. Ooh, that's not a word. That sounds absurd. Oh. You. Now let's see how good you can be.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you.
Now I see how good you can be. Well, hello, Johnny. How do you do? How can I help a good friend like you?
Do you have some tape I can use?
I believe I do. I'm sure it's so. But you don't have good manners if you don't say hello.
Gee, that's just what Susie said. You see, I wanted to get the tape from Susie, but she said I didn't have good manners, and she gave it to Dennis.
Didn't have good manners.
So I thought I'd get my own tape from you. Do you have some?
To give you some tape, I'll be happy to do. But will that make a difference? Will that really please you? Tell me your feelings. Now, be honest, my lad. Isn't the real problem that you're feeling bad?
Well, I guess I do feel pretty bad. I really do want Susie to like me.
Maybe the reason you feel bad and ashamed is because you forgot the good manners game.
Good manners game? What's that?
It's to use good manners, for that's the right thing to do. Good manners make living nicer for others and you. Maybe my talking machine can help you see what I mean. Good manners are simple to learn and to do. They start with small words like,
excuse me, hello, please, thank you.
Think back and remember when Dennis was running so fast. He gave you a hard bump as he went past.
I remember that. It did make me angry.
Now, think how much nicer things could be if we had good manners. Would you like to see?
I sure would.
Then to see how things would have been, if you're ready, let's go for a spin.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. That's okay. It was just an accident.
Then there was the time Susie returned a toy she had borrowed without saying thank you. Did that cause you sorrow?
It sure did. That really bothered me.
Wouldn't you have felt better, and Susie the same, if Susie had remembered the good manners game?
Yes, I would have.
Then to see how things would have been, let's go for a spin.
Oh, Johnny, this spaceship is really great. Thank you for lending it to me. Sure, you're welcome, Susie.
Remember when Dennis forgot the good manners game? Forgetting please and thank you, it was really a shame.
I remember that. He almost knocked me in the face.
He should have stopped before reaching and tried using his head. Instead of rude actions, small words could be said.
Mr. Mack, let's spin back and see how it could have been.
Johnny, would you please pass the napkins?
Sure. Here you are.
Thank you.
Gee, Mr. Mack, I never thought about it. But I guess it really is important to say those small words like...
Please excuse me. Thank you.
Right. If you use those small words, you're being real smart. But it's important to know that they're only the start. A part of the game we also should cover is taking care of things that belong to another.
To someone else? I don't understand.
You don't understand, huh? Remember when Diane used your crayons to color and forgot to put them back in their box safe under cover?
Diane, lunch is ready.
Okay, Mom. I sure do. They melted in the sun.
If Diane had been careful with the crayons she had, wouldn't you have been happier, less angry and sad?
Sure. She could have put them away. You know, I kept thinking about how she could have taken care of my crayons.
Diane, lunch is ready.
Okay, Mom. Hi, Johnny. Here are your crowns. Thanks, Diane.
Thank you, Johnny.
Remember when you were in a store and knocked some things onto the floor? If you'd taken care of those things and remembered the game, would the manager feel better or would it still be the same?
No, it wouldn't be the same because I know what I should have done. See what you mean, Mr. Mack? Being careful with other people's things is just as important as saying,
Please excuse me. Thank you.
Johnny, my friend, you're learning real fast. But there's still one more point we mustn't go past.
another?
Yes. You know, there are plenty of people whom you'll never meet. Be good-mannered to them and give them a treat.
But I don't understand. If we never meet them, then how can we play the good manners game with them?
Well, do you remember the time when you sat down to eat lunch and your table was covered with garbage, quite a bunch? The kids who had sat there long before you didn't know the good manners game. That's being rude and mean, too.
That's right. Whoever they were, they should have cleaned up their own mess.
Then you'll also remember what some people do. They paint walls and benches. That's bad manners, too.
People shouldn't spoil things for others.
So tell me now, Johnny, is it really true that others' bad manners mean nothing to you?
I do care when other people forget the good manners game. I guess they care when I'm rude, too.
That's right. That's right. They do. They do.
Wow, Mr. Mack. Just imagine what it would be like if nobody had good manners.
Oh, yes. Just imagine a world where folks were so rude that they ignored all hellos. That'd put you in a bad mood. If we all lacked good manners by not listening when others are speaking, you'd get so upset, you'd feel like shrieking. If we all gave up manners that give others a treat, it'd be hard to do anything, even to eat. You could not even get to the front of a line. You couldn't do anything. No one would give you the time. So you can see that good manners are really a way to get along with each other. That's the reason we say,
To act with good manners is the right thing to do. It makes living nicer.
For others and you.
aha! That's right, I do say. Then tell me again, how's the game played?
We should always remember small words like, excuse me, hello, please, and thank you. We should remember that good manners begins at home.
Wait, Johnny. Here's your lunch.
Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too, Mom. We should be thoughtful of other people.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We should be careful with things that belong to others. And we should have good manners, even with people we never meet. Sure, it's simple. Good manners are really just watching out for other people's feelings.
Right. Right.
Well, I really wasn't very nice to Susie. I should go back and tell her I was sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Good idea. Good idea.
Johnny, my friend, you've really got heart. You play the good manners game, and you were playing it smart.
Oh, I can hardly wait. Oh, I almost forgot. Mr. Mack,
What?
thank you.
Well, you're welcome, my friend.
You're welcome.
Goodbye, Mr. Mack.
Goodbye, Johnny.
I'm sure glad I learned the good manners game from Mr. Mack. Susie, I'm sorry I was so rude when I asked for the tape. Why, Johnny, it's really nice of you to say you're sorry. Thank you. I feel a lot better. Really? Me too. Do you want to help us put up the sign? Sure. Great. Using good manners is the right thing to do. Good manners makes living nicer for others and you.
There's a special ring in hell, I think, for having Hal Smith rhyming. It's really horrible. I think that a lot of educational films that have rhyming that aren't maybe Dr. Seuss are absolutely horrible. I really have no patience for them. But I'm fine with showing them to you. We love that. Okay. Anyways, this film is The Housefly. And this is the third edition, which means that Encyclopedia Britannica did 2 other editions before this. So enjoy.
To most of us, the housefly is little more than an annoying insect that buzzes around in the warmth and shelter of our homes. It bothers us especially when we find it in the kitchen, on dishes and food, but otherwise it seems simple and insignificant. Yet the housefly is amazingly complex, and it can be a deadly menace. A master of flight, the housefly is agile and fast, and very difficult to catch. When it flies, its wings beat more than 200 times every second. The up and down motion of the wings is controlled indirectly by flight muscles in the fly's midsection, or thorax. The thorax moves up and down a mere fraction of a millimeter. These tiny movements are transferred to the wings along a series of hinge-like joints and amplified several hundred times by the wings. The number of wing beats can be measured by the tone of the hum. The higher it sounds, the faster the wings are beating. During flight, the legs are held close to the body to decrease air resistance. The wings constantly change their angle of thrust. This wing motion lifts and propels the fly through the air. The fly's wings are translucent and well adapted for rapid flight. The efficiency of each wing is increased by bristles on the leading edge. Minute hairs on the wing surface probably contribute to efficient airflow over the wing. The row of hairs on the trailing edge of the wing enlarges the surface slightly. Behind each wing is a halter, a vestigial wing, that acts as a flight stabilizer. The halters relay information about the fly's position in flight. The delicate antennae sense the airstream during flight, enabling the fly to control its airspeed. The many-faceted compound eyes aid flight by providing the fly with a panoramic view of its surroundings. The fly also has 3 ocelli, simple eyes, that sense differences in light intensity. Rapid extension of its legs enables the fly to land on any available surface instantly. To land upside down, the fly first extends its forelegs upward to make contact, and then swings the rest of its body into place. But how does the fly stay upside down? If we look at the fly from below, through a pane of glass, we see on the tip of each foot, or tarsus, a pair of claws, which enable the fly to cling to rough surfaces, and a pair of tarsal pads for adhering to smooth surfaces. The tarsal pads are covered with many fine hairs, the ends of which hold a sticky fluid. When the fly removes its foot from the glass, the droplets remain. As we've seen, the housefly is well adapted for flight. It is also well adapted for feeding, in ways that seem unusual to us. To find and recognize its food, the fly has scent and taste organs. The scent organs are on its antennae, which are covered with sensory hair and olfactory pits. We often see flies standing on their food. Flies not only can taste with their mouths, but with their feet as well. The tarsi of the front legs have taste organs. The fly's proboscis, or feeding organ, extends from the head when the fly finds food. The end of the proboscis expands into two lobes. Here we see the lobes from below. Each lobe contains a system of channels stiffened by thin braces. By means of the channels, liquid food like this drop of sugar solution can be quickly absorbed. Some solids, like this grain of sugar, must be dissolved first. The fly secretes saliva onto the food. The liquefied food can be sucked up, pumped by a special set of muscles in the head. Because the fly can liquefy many substances with its saliva, it can find nourishment almost everywhere. The housefly not only feeds on our food, but also on garbage. It also feeds on manure. Fly larvae help us by breaking these wastes down. However, disease germs from the wastes stick to the body of the adult fly. Because of this, the fly contributes to the spread of disease. The housefly and close relatives like the facefly spread disease to livestock. Fly-borne disease germs can easily infect the body through an open wound. Flies transmit germs of cholera, typhoid, dysentery, polio, and many other deadly diseases. Millions of microbes are excreted with the fly's feces. Using a microscope, we discover a variety of fungal spores and bacteria in the feces. Microbes also stick to the fly itself. In fact, it is covered with them. When a fly walks over a suitable culture medium, it leaves a trail of bacteria, which soon develop into colonies. Using time-lapse photography, we can watch the growth of a bacterial colony that develops in the trail of a fly. The adult housefly feeds on garbage and waste. So do its offspring, which begin life in their source of food. The housefly begins as an egg laid by an adult female. She probes for a suitable location for her eggs. The female extends her ovipositor like a telescope to deposit the eggs in a source of food for her young. She lays them under the surface to safeguard them from enemies and dehydration. The tip of the ovipositor carries sense organs, which enable the female to lay her eggs side by side and in the right place. She lays about 120 to 150 eggs in a single batch, and 4 to 5 batches during her short life. After about 24 hours, the fly larvae, called maggots, hatch from the eggs. A slit at one end of the eggshell eases hatching. Maggots have no legs. They crawl by using powerful muscles which contract and extend the body, by using hook-shaped mouth parts at the pointed anterior end, and with the assistance of spines on their bodies that give traction. The maggot has no eyes. On the blunt posterior end are 2 dark spots. The spots are breathing pores, or spiracles, that lead into a complex system of air tubes. Delicate hairs keep out dust and liquid. By keeping garbage near our homes, we offer the fly a most favorable environment for its offspring, virtually on our doorsteps. Depending on the availability of food and on temperature, after about 5 to 6 days and 2 molts, the mature maggots are ready to pupate, a major step in their transformation into adults. This process takes several hours, but is shown here in several seconds through time-lapse photography. The pupa case, which is formed by the hardening of the final larval skin, is a small barrel-shaped container. Inside the pupa case, the metamorphosis from maggot to fly occurs. Special photography enables us to see the fly's heartbeat inside the pupa case. When the metamorphosis is complete, the adult bursts the lid of the pupa case, aided by a balloon-like tylenum on its head. When this sac expands, the head swells to about twice its normal size. The tylenum acts like a bulldozer, pushing open a path to the surface. By alternating expansion and contraction of the tylenum, the fly can reach the surface. Its spindly legs are of little help in this process. Once on the surface, the fly immediately begins to groom itself. The tylenum disappears, withdrawn into the head, never to be used again. As is true of all insects, the behavior of the housefly is purely instinctive. The fly is taught nothing. Its every act is an innate mechanism. On the average, females will live about 4 to 5 weeks, males only 3 to 4. The adult pumps blood into its crumpled wings to expand them. Then the wings stiffen. The exoskeleton soon hardens and darkens. The fly is ready to take to the air.
Sorry about that. I was eating some cheese. Yeah, flies have to have lunch too. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's see how things held up in ancient Rome. This is another Encyclopedia Britannica film. Enjoy.
In the 11th year of the reign of the Emperor Trajan, 106 years following the birth of Christ, the Roman army returned from Dacia victorious. For 5 years, the legions had fought barbarian tribes across the Danube. And now, once again, Roman mastery of the art of war had secured victory. The Roman Empire was at peace. The power of Rome extended from Spain to Syria, from Africa to Britain, most of the known world. This was the vastest, richest, most powerful, and perhaps most contented empire history had ever known. Troops from the conquered provinces were hired to protect the frontiers from attack. Centuries of conquest had brought a great variety of races and nationalities under Roman rule. Jew, Greek, Gaul, all were now united under a common Roman civilization and were generally content to live under Roman domination. Although cruel in war, the Romans governed justly. Two cultures, Roman and barbarian, victor and vanquished, were now joined in common cause, the preservation of the Roman peace. The political center of this vast empire was the city of Rome itself, dominated by its first citizen, the Emperor Trajan. Supported by the loyalty of the legions, his power was absolute. Earlier in Rome's history, elected representatives exercised the power rather than one man. But by now, every function of government had been absorbed by the emperor, who was above the law and ruled by decree. From a small minority of wealthy citizens, the emperor chose state officials and civil servants needed to administer the empire. Though they had little real power, the wealthy enjoyed the honor of public office and a life of ease and elegance. It was the wealthy few, rather than the many, who benefited from the riches and vast resources of the empire. This imbalance and the irresponsible behavior of public officials would become major reasons for Rome's eventual decline. Wealth was attained largely through trade. Into the warehouses flowed goods from all over the empire and beyond. Her provinces kept Rome amply supplied. The markets were well stocked and provided work for hundreds of merchants, tradesmen, and laborers of various kinds. The Roman housewife could buy a surprising variety of foodstuffs, if she had the money. Here, a Roman might select a new toga, purchase pottery for use in the home, have a letter written or a contract drawn up by a scribe. Only a small percentage of the population could read or write themselves. Rome was the largest and perhaps the most beautiful city of the ancient world, but also a city of contrast and contradiction. Behind the splendor of the Forum were vast areas of crowded slums. Most of the million inhabitants were tightly packed into multi-storied apartment buildings which lined the narrow streets. Physical conditions of life in these tenements, constantly threatened by fire and collapse, could not have been pleasant. Escape from the slums was difficult, for there were few jobs available and practically none for the unskilled. Under Trajan, 1/3 of the city's population depended upon the dole, the first social welfare system in history. A daily ration of food and a small sum of money were provided by the Public Assistance Office. This system of public welfare arose out of necessity, for thousands of hungry citizens would have been a serious threat to the peace of the city, and the Romans, above all, were a practical people. Outside the city, chariot drivers practiced for the races in the Circus Maximus. To keep idle citizens entertained and out of mischief, frequent games and spectacles were held at public expense. At first, only chariot races were sponsored, but by the reign of Trajan, brutal combat to the death had become popular. Man became less than animal. That a people as civilized as the Romans, with the most humane system of law ever devised, could tolerate slavery and the violation of human beings is astonishing. As in all ancient civilizations, Roman society was sharply divided into two groups: those who were free, those who were slaves. 1/3 of Rome's population were slaves, and the Roman economy was vitally dependent on the institution of slavery, on slaves to labor on the great estates and in the mines, on educated slaves who worked as tutors and teachers and enjoyed perhaps greater comfort and privilege than those who served in the homes of the wealthy. Brutality and cruelty are recorded, but in general, slaves were not ill-treated, and many were set free by their masters. Slaves were considered subhuman, however, and enjoyed none of the rights of Roman citizenship. Citizenship, from which women were also excluded, was acquired either by birth or through a special grant of the emperor. One of the great benefits of citizenship was equality before the law. Here, in the Basilica Julia, as in other courts throughout the city and the empire, a citizen could plead his case before impartial judges and an audience of his fellow citizens. He was considered innocent until proven guilty. From the Romans and their genius for creating order, the Western world has gained much of its knowledge of the theory and practice of law. In the forum stood the temples of the state gods, the temples of Jupiter, Vesta, and of Castor and Pollux. Statues of the gods adorned the buildings. Many were borrowed from the Greek and Etruscan civilizations, but their names and functions were changed to express Roman traditions and ideas. There was a god for every activity, and one for the protection of every household. But by the reign of Trajan, the appeal of the gods was declining, and many now sought a deeper experience in Judaism or Christianity.
Hosan pais mu depo hopapteson.
Public readings were popular. The average citizen could enjoy Roman literature even though he could not read or afford the purchase of books. In literature, as in religion and other fields, the Romans borrowed from the Greek civilization, using Greek literary forms and often the Greek language instead of Latin. But whatever they borrowed, the Romans adapted and changed in such a way that the content, emphasis, and style became nearly always distinctively Roman. In private publishing houses, educated slaves produced handwritten copies of favorite works. While the Romans were more interested in ideas which led to action than in literary thought, the Roman alphabet, Latin literature, and the Latin language, from which all of the Romance languages of Europe are derived, are still among the most priceless heritages of Western civilization. The public baths were also popular, both because personal cleanliness was important to the Romans and because here, surrounded by mosaics and sculpture, the citizen could spend a pleasant social time with friends. The very practical nature of the Roman led to remarkable engineering achievements. The baths were among the most impressive buildings in Rome. The beautiful arches, which were a Roman invention, the many public buildings were constant reminders of the glory of Roman civilization. The Roman genius for engineering made possible aqueducts, which carried water from great distances, and an extensive system of roads, which linked the widely separated provinces. Roads made possible the creation of an imperial post, the first organized postal system in history. Good roads also made possible the rapid dispatch of the legions to wherever they might be needed, and thus could Rome control her far-flung empire. To the farthest reaches of this empire, to wherever he traveled, the Roman saw the influence of his civilization and culture. Truly, he was a citizen of the world. The magnificent facade of the empire, however, could not conceal the seeds of decay. The unhealthy dependence of the economy on slaves, the disparity between rich and poor. These and other problems could not be solved by engineering. Under Trajan, Roman power was at its height. During the next 2 centuries, the empire would fall victim to internal cancers and external attack, and would finally disappear forever. But in the year 106, it was a Roman world. The ancient gods no longer watch over the city. From the amphitheater, the anguished cries of the gladiators are no longer heard. The triumphal trumpets of the conquering legions are still. The forum is empty and quiet. A civilization is no more. But are these stones all that remain of Rome? What if there had never been a Rome? How much longer and harder might our climb have been from antiquity to the achievements of the 20th century? How is it that the Western world cannot escape the influence of its Roman past? These questions have answers, not in these stones, but living in the modern world of today.
So I'm looking here to see like how different the... Yeah, wow. How about that? Okay, yeah, I apologize. I showed this film earlier, maybe last week, but it was in Latin. So, and the color was not as good as this color. So there you go. Okay, what else we got? Yes. All right. We've had a lot of questions about this. People want to know, what is a fish?
What exactly are these animals that live and die in a watery environment? Habits and characteristics. In short, just what is a fish? The fish that are alive today fall into 3 major groups: skates and rays, and the bony fishes, such as the herring. We'll start with the most primitive of all, the lamprey and hagfish. They have no limbs or jaws, only a round hole for a mouth. Although they have a backbone, it is not made of bone, but flexible cartilage. Without jaws, they feed by attaching their mouths to their prey rasping holes in the flesh with barbed tongues, and then sucking out the tissue that is being dissolved by their saliva. To reach the evolutionary stage of typical fishes, two great advances had to be made over the structure of the lampreys: biting jaws and paired fins. With the advent of the sharks and skates and the various types of rays, the vertebrates had gained jaws and teeth. Now, instead of being mere scavengers of the bottom, they could prey on the other active creatures of the water. One can get some idea of how jaws might have developed by opening up the gill area of a shark. These are the shark's jaws. Notice the amazing similarity to the gill bars. As you can see, it is more than probable that the jaws are derived from a pair of these gill bars that have become adapted to carry out this new function. You are now looking at a magnified view of a shark's skin. The little plates are called denticles and are essentially the same structure as the shark's teeth. It is probable, therefore, that the teeth of a shark were derived from denticles present in the skin of the mouth. The denticles have merely become enlarged and been used in a new way. With jaws and teeth, the sharks also developed the ability to move faster in pursuit of their prey. As in all typical fish, their propulsion is by sideways undulations of the body. Except for the sculling action of the tail fin, the fins are not used for propulsion. Instead, the shark uses them for steering and as stabilizers to prevent rolling in the water. The lampreys and sharks have skeletons of cartilage. But the remaining group of fish are the bony fish, with backbone and skeletons actually made of bone. The modern bony fishes are divided into two distinct types: the ray fins and the lobe fins. In the ray fin fishes, the fins are composed of only a thin web of skin that is supported by rays. On the other hand, the lobe fins, like the coelacanth, have actual limbs, for they have a fleshy lobe supported by a skeleton of bone. The strange-looking coelacanths were believed to have been extinct since the age of dinosaurs. However, in 1939, one was caught alive off the African coast. Since then, others have been netted and intensively studied. The other type of living lobe fins are the lungfishes. Lungfishes are found in only 3 small areas of the world, but within their limited environment, they are well adapted. For in the stagnant pools where the lungfish live, nearly all other fish would die for lack of oxygen. However, the lungfish actually possess lungs and rise to the surface to breathe air. Nowadays, there are very few coelacanths and lungfishes, and from an evolutionary point of view, it is the ray fins that have been particularly successful. One of the factors that has been responsible for the success of the ray fins are the fins themselves. A thin web of skin supported by rays. These give the fish much greater maneuverability in the water. The scales of most fishes are flexible, overlapping plates. They give protection while being light enough and flexible enough to allow the fish to swim freely through the water. Fishes take their oxygen from the water by means of gills. Water taken in through the mouth passes out over the red gill filaments. Rich in blood, the filaments are able to absorb the oxygen from the water. If we open the fish, we can see the position of the heart. It lies just back of the gills and pumps the blood through the gill filaments. Inside the fish's mouth are a series of tooth-like bones, which act as a basket to hold and channel the food down the throat. Cutting open the throat area, we can see that the food will pass from the throat directly into the stomach. In fact, from the throat, it is a long, continuous tube through the stomach and the intestines until finally waste products are emitted at the anus. In modern ray fins, the ancestral lung has been transformed into a swim bladder. This is a strong membrane filled with gas and is similar to the buoyancy tank of a submarine. By varying the amount of gas, a fish can remain buoyant at different depths. It simply floats in the water. If one fillets a fish, the fleshy part that one eats are the muscles. The rigid yet flexible backbone gives a firm support for the action of these muscles. And so most fishes are very fast and agile. The ray fins are found all over the world and live both in fresh water and in the ocean. Comprising over half of all vertebrate species, they have developed an enormous variety of body characteristics. The trunkfish, for instance, has bony plates under its skin, giving it a completely rigid body. The filefish, a bottom feeder, often drifts around in a vertical position. Well camouflaged, the trumpetfish will quietly stalk its prey among the eelgrass. Or, alternatively, float head down and wait for a prospective victim by concealing itself in a group of finger sponges. And this rock, over which the little striped fish are swimming, is actually a scorpion fish. The arowana is a mouth breeder, the fertilized eggs being stored and hatched in its mouth. Usually swimming near the surface of the water, its oblique mouth is well adapted to scooping up food from underneath. While some fishes browse on the algal plants and bryozoans that grow over the surface of coral reefs. The remarkable-looking seahorse moves through the water by rapidly undulating a fin on its back. Like this pipefish, they have swiveling binocular eyes. These enable them to accurately judge the distance of their minute prey and suck it into their tube-like snouts. Apart from their widely differing physical characteristics, the ray fins also show remarkable variety in their behavior patterns. These grunts appear to be kissing, but in reality, it is probably a threatening pose when one fish intrudes on the privacy of another. Jawfish have a particularly interesting adaptation to life in the water, in that they live in burrows that they dig and line with stones. However, when one jawfish digs a burrow too near another, the fish that was there first appears to resent this intrusion of its territory and is determined to force the interloper's evacuation. The first step in its campaign to intimidate the other jawfish is to steal the stones that are around the doorway and to use them to build up its own nest. Naturally, the newcomer resents this piracy, but as in most cases in nature, the larger, or alternatively, the more aggressive animal usually wins. The argument between the two soon results in an aggressive display. Finally, the original inhabitant of the territory seems to feel it necessary to drive the interloper away. It invades the neighboring burrow. The newcomer is forced to evacuate. The victor then returns to its own hole and snaps at the defeated rival. The pufferfish scares off its enemies by enlarging its body with water. This causes its quills to stand erect and provides a formidable deterrent to any aggressor. When the danger is past, the puffer gradually returns to its original, more streamlined shape. But not all fish are as well endowed with such a protective device, and predation by one fish on another is a constant danger in this world of the waters. Apart from this direct approach, there are some fishes that employ an artful guile. The anglers, for instance, in addition to a deceptive camouflage, actually go fishing. They have a highly specialized spine, and when they are hungry, they extend a bony filament from their head to act as a fishing pole. At the end of the pole is their bait, a fleshy appendage which they vibrate, making it look like a wriggling worm. Small fish attracted to the bait are taken in a mouthful. The queen trigger is a fish that will eat almost anything. Algae, coral, mollusks, even a spiny sea urchin makes an acceptable meal. But killing an urchin is not a simple operation. It will try to wedge itself between a crack in the rocks, and it has very sharp spines. The trigger keeps pulling it back into the open. Then it carries it up into the water and drops it. If the urchin lands on its back, the trigger will move into the attack, for the sharp spines are shorter on its underside. However, the urchin keeps managing to right itself, until finally it is not quite fast enough. Quickly, the trigger smashes a hole in it with powerful jaws. It does not take long to eat out the urchin's soft insides. Soon, there is only a hollow shell surrounded by the now useless spines. One of the interesting commensal relationships is that of the shrimp and the goby, for they both occupy the same burrow. While the shrimp shovels dirt out of the hole like a small bulldozer, the goby stays quietly at the entrance, but always on the alert for danger. Dancing enticingly and wriggling its antennae, the little parasite-picking shrimp signals that it is hungry. Fishes come and settle quietly on the bottom to have the parasites cleaned from their scales. They hold themselves quite rigid and even open their gill covers so that the shrimp can get underneath to seek out and eat the parasites. These shrimp have definite stations, and often several fish will line up for this cleaning job at the same time. Then there are fish that clean other fish, little line gobies that have what appears to us the invidious task of cleaning the parasites off such dangerous creatures as the vicious-looking moray eel. However, the moray has no use for the goby as food and is much more interested in having its irritating parasites removed. When cautiously approached, some fish are somewhat similar to squirrels in the park and are apparently quite content to be handled. Unlike most of the animals of the land, they do not seem to fear man's presence. Whether they actually respond to affectionate handling or whether they are merely inquisitive is not yet known. In most fish, the process of reproduction follows this general pattern. First, the relatively elaborate courting procedure, as in the courting of these angelfish. This induces the female to lay her eggs. The eggs of these sergeant major fish have a purplish color and cover the rocks. After the eggs are laid, the male swims over them and fertilizes them. And sometimes the male will stand guard over the eggs until they are hatched. These tiny freshwater fish are Aresius latipus. The female has just started to spawn. The development of a single egg cell into a whole fish is a fascinating process, and a study of this process helps us to gain new insight into vertebrate embryology. The eggs of these small fish are as transparent as glass beads, and are therefore ideal for microscopic study. Here are the eggs before fertilization. The sperm look like tadpoles, their size about 3/1000ths of a millimeter. The sperm cells move briskly about the egg. This is the minute opening where the sperm will enter. A sperm cell penetrates the egg. Another tries to follow, but it will be shut out. Only the first sperm to enter the egg will affect fertilization. Following fertilization, there is a rapid change in the egg's protoplasm. The globules of oil, which serve as nutrients during later stages of development, fuse and move downward, while the protoplasm gathers at the upper end of the egg to form what will become the pre-embryo. The first cleavage or cell division of the egg now takes place. The pre-embryo continues dividing into numerous cells. Then gradually spreads over the yolk. "26 hours have elapsed. The developing embryo has now covered 3/4 of the egg, and a rhythmic movement has begun. 36 hours after fertilization, some of the new cells have gathered together to form 2 parallel lines. These lines indicate the border of the neural tube, which eventually develops into the brain and the spinal cord. The top end of the neural tube bulges into 2 directions to become the eyes. The space between the eyes is the developing brain. 50 hours after fertilization, the heart is merely a small tube and beating very faintly. But no blood is running through it, since the blood vessels have not yet been formed. 56 hours after fertilization, the cells near the heart undergo a change and begin to form blood vessels. Blood corpuscles are rapidly increasing in the region, and suddenly the blood begins to flow into the heart and circulation begins. The heart beats powerfully. As the blood is pumped through the body, it carries with it the nutrients that will accelerate the growth of new organs. By the 7th or 8th day, the body is almost complete, with all the internal organs ready to function. The 10th day, the embryo is now moving briskly within its enveloping membrane. The 11th day, the embryo breaks out of the shell and a new Aresius latipus has been hatched. The young fry will become an adult fish in 3 months. Then it too will begin spawning. What is a fish? There is no simple answer. But we can say that it is an active, swimming creature with a backbone, and that it is characterized by having fins and scales. We might add that fishes exhibit interesting and complex behavior patterns, and abound in such variety that their species outnumber all other vertebrates combined. All these factors, and more, add up to an extremely successful animal, the fish.
Yes, he took a roundabout way to tell us what a fish was. Oh boy. So, thanks for watching today. I very much appreciate your eyeballs and your comments and your kind wishes. Yes, we are still waiting for YouTube to act to get us our original channel back. The funny thing is that I had set up a schedule of posting new films on the old channel. And so new films are being posted at noon every day. And whoever owns the channel now has not been keeping an eye on that, so there's new stuff up there. But I'm also putting some stuff on this channel, which will probably be a temporary channel that we'll use just in case things would just, I mean, I'm not thinking about this, but yeah, just in case YouTube is belligerent and does not give me my site back for whatever reason. I got a plan B. This is my plan B channel. But I do appreciate you guys finding me, and hopefully the word will get out more and more. I've gotten some really kind emails, and the comments here have been very nice. Moral of the story again, don't click that link. If it seems fishy, don't click that link. And that's fishy, P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G, or Y. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow. Everybody take care.